Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is the 49 days of CBC, and yes, we're in week 6 already. And today we have a special guest. This fella's been part of my life for the last 30 years. He did our wedding. He's known my wife since, I don't know, she was 8 or 9 years old. This is Mr. Geoffrey Sikes. He's a historian of Carolina Bible Camp. He's probably got more pictures from I don't know how many years than anybody else put together from Carolina Bible Camp. So it's my honor to share with you guys tonight or today, whatever it is, Mr. Geoffrey Sikes. How are you, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing well. Got on, there you go. Got the official attire on tonight. And what else do we have here? Look at there.
Cheer wine.
A bottle. Now, this is real cane sugar. It's not any of that artificial stuff. So do I drink it out of the bottle or do I drink it over ice? That's my dilemma.
He went straight to the bottle. Now he's going to the glass.
I'll have the best of both worlds.
There you go. Did you pirate that? Did you take that over the border, or are they selling it over there now?
This is one of the last bottles remaining from a case that I got when I spoke at Jericho last year.
Okay.
And as a parting gift, I got a case of cheerwine from bottles from Tony and Janet Forrest.
All right.
Life group, small group. And so I was saving this for a special occasion.
All right. So
I've known Tony for many, many years. My first remembrance of him was actually at Carolina Bible Camp. I mean, talk about an old timer as Tony Forrest. And Janet, both very special people, and still missing Janet today. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, when you look back, when was the first year that you started going to Carolina Bible Camp?
It was right before the Second World War, I believe. It was 1964.
1964. Wow.
Yes, it was. I have trouble counting that far.
Same year as Mr. Connors, huh?
You know what? I think Dennis may have gone 1 year earlier.
Oh, right. Yeah, he did say 63.
No, I know he did. He's got me by 1 year. I can't quite catch him. I thought this year would be the one, but no. Maybe I should just show up this year and we could be tied.
There you go. There you go. Well, I think Johnny Melton said he has you both beat.
He does as staff. He does as staff. He's been staff 1 year longer than both of us.
All right. Oh, my. So when you think about all the years of Carolina Bible Camp, great experience at each one of the camps. You want to tell a little bit about each one of the camps, what you remember about them?
My first remembrance was Camp Haynes in King, North Carolina. It's a YMCA camp. It was, and it still is. I'll tell you one story. This is Tom Torpy from Jericho.
Okay.
And when I was preaching, did I mention I preached at Jericho last year and got a bottle of cheerwine? During one of the days, we decided to go back to Camp Haynes to King, North Carolina. We drove in there. They've got a little security station. And I mentioned that, well, I used to go to camp and told them when I was there. And they said, oh, H.R. Butler.
Oh, wow.
This is 2019. And they still remembered H.R. Butler having camp there. So
wow. And that was the early 70s, wasn't it? Or 60s?
That we met there from, I believe they met there from 62 through 76.
All right.
And then we left and went to a place called Camp Kanata. I'm trying to remember exactly where that was, but we're there for about 3 years. And we're 1 year at a place called Camp Vaughn. 1 year only. They had front porches on the cabins. I remember that. Oh, yeah. And for some really old timers, there was a TV show called Dallas. And the big thing about that was who shot JR. And we had a little skit going all week, who shot HR. And from there, we went to a camp called Susan Barber Jones. And then we went to, I believe from there, we went to Camp Wow. No, we went to Camp Schwab in the mountains.
Oh, yeah.
We called it Camp Swab because of some of the sanitary conditions. From there, Camp Wow, a Woodman of the World, that was in Asheville. And I actually made it to the groundbreaking for Moxville, Carolina Bible Camp. That was 1990. They had a groundbreaking ceremony with a golden shovel. And HR and some others broke the ground, and we met one more year in Asheville. And so 92 was the first year at Moxville, and have been there ever since.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, with all that history, and how many years does that make now that you've been going to Carolina Bible Camp? I don't think I can count that.
56 summers in a row.
56 summers in a row.
I think I'm skipping this year.
You got a mulligan this year.
Yeah, that's it. And this has an asterisk.
Yes. So, Jeff, you travel all the way from north of Nashville to come every year. What keeps bringing you back every year?
Well, just number one would probably be just the friendships. They are some of the dearest friends that I have on earth. I think it's astounding that Dennis and I have been coming to camp together every year. I especially remember, my memory is of meeting Dennis, I think when we were 11, and we really clicked when we were 14, I think. And from there on, just been together along with my good friend, Jonathan Seaman.
Mm-hmm.
We were born a day apart. Jonathan went to Jericho. His parents did when he was born. My dad was preaching there, and we went to camp together for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And then it's just such a special place, and just a connection because of that. I've got some goodies sitting beside me. Here's one of them. And this still sits in my room today, but that's a mosaic that I made at camp. It's an ashtray. Now, I don't think they're making are they making ashtrays?
No, it's against the law now.
Okay. So no ashtray, but I made this when I was 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't just pull it out for this video. It's just right across the room on the shelf. It's part of the room that I'm in.
All right.
And just things like that. Copper crafts. That was a big part of coming up, where you'd have the little, copper. And actually, I got to keep the thing that we framed it around, and some of the old. I've got some old they used to send these out in the mail. The brochures for camp, and you'd send them in. And just got a box that I threw this stuff in and kept it for years, and little things. I don't know if they have these anymore, like buttons and oh, here you go, Andy.
Uh-oh.
Badminton champion.
Badminton.
That's right. When I was in the 12th grade, I was the badminton champion of the whole camp. So wow, talk about bragging rights. So there you go. And I don't know what else I've got. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, but I do have this. This was sent to me for teaching materials. Big envelope, 18 cents worth of postage. So, but we would have workbooks many times back then, and just all kinds of things going on. And it's just been a part of my life for so long. More recent crafts. There you go.
All right.
2014.
All right.
And leather crafts.
Yeah.
And well, there's a picture frame from one of my tables from 2007.
All right.
Mirror image was the theme for that year. And it's just been a part of my heart and soul and life, and then just interacting with the kids. And I remember Melissa, but I especially remember Melissa, your wife, from the time she was 15. I sort of remember her a little bit earlier, but when she was 15, she sat at my table.
All right.
And that just started a deep friendship. And of course, the next year, no, it wasn't quite the next year, but a few years after that, I was doing your wedding ceremony.
Yeah.
Just connections like that. And then we've just stayed in touch through the years. And I've continued to stay in touch with a whole lot of camp friends. And it's just, again,
it's part of your life.
Part of my life, part of my spiritual life.
Well, I asked Dennis when I was talking to him, I said, how many weddings have you done with camp kids over the years? And he couldn't count. He said it's got to be over a dozen. And I'm sure you're the same way. The impact that you've had on kids over the years, and just being part of their life, not even only at camp, but after they leave camp and they're adults now.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to show you one other thing right here. I don't know if anybody has one of these or not. Maybe we need to bring these back. Look at that. It's a banner.
You're upside down.
There I am. Yeah.
There you go.
Carolina Bible Camp banner.
Oh yeah.
Get yours at the canteen today. Well, maybe not today, but yeah. And last of all, of course, a lanyard.
So, a lanyard. All right.
I made that knot myself right there.
Oh, well, that's impressive. Yeah. Well, Jeff, if you think about it, I know that you've got fond memories of however 56 years that you were at Carolina Bible Camp. Is there some memories that you'd like to share with us today?
Well, Dennis has told this story before. I don't know if I should tell it, but I will. I remember I was dating a girl, not dating a girl, camp romance.
Yes.
And I remember wearing white clothes one day. Why would I bring white clothes to camp, any rate? But we had a little breakup, and I dressed in all black after that. Why do I have these outfits at camp? But Dennis has told that more than once. But I got over it, and I'm okay today. The therapy's working out all right. One story I remember sending to Kirk, and I don't know if he shared this or not, for Wilson's funeral.
Right.
But Jonathan Seaman, my buddy, and Dennis and I, we decided to move somebody out of the cabin at night, and bed and all. These were metal beds. This was at Camp Haynes in King, and we got the bed, and it had trouble getting out of the door. And I can't remember whether we tried the next night or one way or another. We got a bed just outside the door, and got a guy out onto the ball field. And we were coming back on the porch. We were talking about what we were doing, and Wilson Burton came up. And it's about 2 a.m. What are you guys doing out here? And Jonathan was like, I got to go to the bathroom. You tell him. So he went out, and Wilson said, what is it? And I said, well, following Jonathan's lead, I got to go to the bathroom too. You tell him, Dennis. And we left Dennis there with trying to explain it all. I do know this guy on the baseball field woke up the next morning. The reason is because it started raining, and he woke up and he's in his bed and it's raining on him. And don't try this at home, kids. All right. That would probably be harder to do at Carolina Bible Camp now with the beds, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
You need to bring some saws or something like that.
Yeah. You'd make a little bit of noise, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, over the years, you've had experiences with campers and stuff like that, their first time there, and, dealing with the seniors like you do, so you're not going to have the younger ones, having issues about staying at camp when they show up there on their first day. But whenever you had those experiences, how did you help those kids along to make them feel welcome at Carolina Bible Camp?
One thing, well, for years, I did, and Dennis as well, we worked with mixed weeks. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't just a senior week. That's more recent development. It's been that way for a number of years. But, you'd sit down. You're not going to win it every time, and especially with a 9-year-old, perhaps. Mm-hmm. But just to tell them what fun you've had. And, I remember I wasn't sure about how it was the first year, but it's great. One thing, if you could convince them to stay one more day, and with the genuine promise, if you stay one more day, we can call your parents and you can go home, and call the next day and let them go home. But quite often that just that one more day, getting over that hump.
Yeah.
And that'd be one of the things I would, we'd try to talk to them about. Haven't had that much trouble, quite as much with the just a teenage week.
Yeah. Well, when you think about all the years that you've spent there and everything, and I was thinking about this. How many kids have come up and talked to you about all your years? You started when you were young, and you just kept coming back. And can they imagine being there 56 years?
No, I'm older than some of their older brothers and sisters by now.
Yeah.
No, I'm older than their parents, and I'm sure I'm probably a little bit older than some of their grandparents.
Yeah.
And I mean, even with Teen Week.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Yeah.
I never imagined it. I do remember, I've got a real clear conversation with a friend of mine from church in Greensboro.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember he was 17 or 18. You going to camp this summer? He'd been going to camp for several years. He said, no, I'm not going. And I said, why not? He said, well, you get older and things happen. You're going to understand one of these days how it is. And I never did. I just never did. I just never really seriously. I never imagined going this long, I guess. I just never thought about it one way or another, except that I never imagined not going to camp. And still, it's just something I want to do for for a while longer.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know that you've touched many people over the years, many kids, teaching and sharing the gospel with them, and that's something that I really appreciate in you and Dennis and the other fellows that have stuck it out for so long, and it's never been about yourselves. It's been about serving God and serving these kids, and I appreciate that so much. If
You know,
there is
one thing I've done for a number of years, I've been the main person with singing class.
right,
And one of my joys has been to be able to introduce new songs into that singing class, especially several years ago, where I could introduce a song that people hadn't heard at all,
yeah,
and then come back and see that it's sort of been introduced to the Carolinas
all right,
through camp. And
yes,
now with technology and all that, you may not be introducing a song that no one has heard, but
right,
that was a real thrill to be able to bring that into into North Carolina. I grew up in Greensboro, and a tough moved when I was 16, moved away, and just still miss the state. I've been in Tennessee, but that connection with North Carolina and Carolina Bible Camp, and then of course just the singing classes, and then for a number of years I've been Dennis's right hand man or left hand or whatever, been assistant director, and so it's just great seeing him and working with him every year. And I get over to North Carolina 2-3 times a year, sometimes 4, and it's just nice staying connected throughout the year.
yes, sir. Well, I know my short time of doing this, it's a joy to see the campers from when I first started working now being staff and
Yeah, yeah.
taking the lead roles, and that's just exciting to see that.
Even some of the ones that might have given you trouble every now and then,
Um,
and you say, "Are you the same person that I'm looking at? This mature staff person?"
yes, yeah. I think I talked with Caleb Sams last night and or yesterday, and yeah, he was one of those ones that you push the buttons and everything. But man, so proud of him now. Now, let me ask you this, and I know you're probably not going to be able to, pick one person, but if there's a couple people that you can think of that have left a lasting impression on you from Carolina Bible Camp, whether it's the staff or camper or whatever, who might that be?
Well, when you say lasting impression, the first thing I think of are staff.
Uh-huh.
And the first person absolutely is H.R. Butler.
Right.
We thought a lot of H.R. and appreciated the effort that he put back in, I think, 1956, with that group of men who helped camp get started. We had a nickname for him. We called him Rel Tub, which is Butler spelled backwards. And we made movies with HR, and just always appreciated seeing him. And getting to know C.R. Franks, who worked with education, but the C.R. Franks Sportsmanship Award is named after him. Who he was not an athletic guy, but he loved sports. And I think about Howard Winters, who was in the canteen, and so my first memories are a lot of these staff people who were staff when I was a camper.
Yeah.
And the influence that they had, and then just lifelong friendships that of course Dennis Connor and Jonathan Seaman, whom I've known all my life, and we started to camp the same year. But making other friends along the way, and I'll leave people out, but Kirk Sams, who I first met through Carolina Bible Camp. Of course, Johnny Melton I first met through Carolina Bible Camp, and people that have been at my table for years and years. Sherry, now Connor, of course, I knew Sherry for many years before she married Dennis. Lauren Hobbs, who's been at my table for a number of years, and Henri Vance, and I think of people that I've sat around and just watching campers come up through the ranks and seeing some of the great things that they've done, and watching people like Caleb, and it's just a joy. It really is.
Well, Jeff, it's been a true honor to sit here for a few minutes, just kind of reminiscing about the memories you have at Carolina Bible Camp. And, we're doing this for the 49 days of CBC, and it's just kind of it was an organic idea, but it's been a great thing to just see the history and the people and the joy that they have and the passion they have for Carolina Bible Camp. You know, it's just been a real blessing seeing all these people and listening to the stories.
It's been a blessing in my life. One of the first speaking engagements I can remember came about through Carolina Bible Camp. A man named Ronnie Ulrey. Some of you may remember Ronnie Ulrey.
Yeah.
He said, "Hey, would you like to speak at a youth rally?" This was in Charlotte, and there were going to be hundreds of kids there. And I may have had a couple little talks at church, but this was the first big thing in front of a big audience. And I said, "Well, what do you want me to speak on?" And he said, "The teenage Christ." And I thought, now let's see, what will my text be? So my topic was the teenage Jesus, of which the Bible says almost nothing about, except that he grew in wisdom and stature, favor with God and man. And I remember speaking at that youth rally, and I'm not sure exactly how long I went, but just, what a blessing just to say, I think you can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And
pushing, get you out of your comfort zone. And
yeah. Since that time, I've spoken at a number of youth rallies in North Carolina. I know 5 of them where Melissa was going to church at Archdale.
Yes, sir.
It's always a joy to cross paths with CBCers, sometimes over here, and especially when I'm over in North Carolina, or to be recognized. It's just great. It's part of my life. I can't imagine a time without it. We're going to get through this summer, but it's going to be there.
Well, Jeff, if you had a few minutes to just share something with the staff and the campers that you've known over the years to encourage them until next year, what would you say to them?
I would say that for one thing, it's interesting when you look at history, and there can be some difficult times that you're going through, and I don't know how this year is going to shake out. With the virus, politically, everything that's going on, I don't know. But I do know we're going to look back on it, and the farther we get from it, it's going to be summed up in a sentence or two or three. Back in the 40s, America got involved with World War II, and we fought it and won. That summarizes 4 incredible years. When you're going through it, it's like, what's going on? How will this ever end? When will this end? And sometimes it can be hard to see, but just to remember when you're right in the middle of it, you don't have to see. Just see God. Just trust in him. He's going to get us through. And as difficult as this is, we are so blessed in this country. And with camp, we're so blessed to know each other. And in a sense, it reminds me of what we've been doing at church for the last 3 months. We've begun meeting again, and I'm thankful for that. But for 10 weeks, we weren't at our building. But you know what? We were still having community, and we were having fellowship because we were in each other's thoughts and prayers, and occasionally even on Zoom or streaming live. And just to know we're all going through this together. And even though we may not see each other face to face, God's going to get us through. And, if we saw exactly how it's going to end, then we wouldn't need any faith. But we walk by faith instead of by sight. And so just remembering that we will get through this. And I'm not going to predict how it's going to end, but God is in control. And I have every confidence that it's going to be great. CBC 2021, and I'm already looking forward to that.
Amen. So if you had one word to sum up Carolina Bible Camp, what would that word be?
One word for what?
Carolina Bible Camp.
To sum it up?
Yeah.
One word.
I stumped Jeff Sikes.
The first word that comes to my mind is heart. It's just a part of my heart. It really is. I heart CBC. There you go. It is. It's part of my heart and soul. It really is.
There you go. Well, Jeff, again, thank you for taking the time just to share a few minutes with us tonight. And I appreciate all your years of service to Carolina Bible Camp, and I hope you have many more. And I know we haven't worked together, and I guess it's been about 30 years since Me, you worked at Dennis's week. That was my first time ever
It's
coming
been
to
a
your
while,
live
yeah.
event. But maybe one of these days we can work together again.
That's one thing, 7 weeks of camp means things change, and you can focus on the downside. Well, I'm not with, but how about the fact that we got 7 weeks of camp and are able to influence 7 weeks of kids?
Amen.
So
That's
yeah,
a true blessing, isn't it?
always try to look for the positive.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate you. I love you, man, and take care of yourself. All right.
Cheers.
Enjoy the cheer wine.